Oh, we are live, and as I clicked that, I realized I hadn't plugged in my Ethernet to make sure the speed is as quick as it can be. So even though I just started, I'm going to hop away for 10 seconds. But I can keep talking to you. Hopefully, all of you are having a great day. Um, had a wonderful Thanksgiving week, whatever you did, whatever you did, wherever you are, if you celebrate it or not. Even if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, because you're from around the world, hope you had a great Thursday. Um, let's get started. Now that I'm all plugged in, and maybe that'll make things run just a little bit smoother. R.I.P. David Prowse. Yes, if you aren't aware of this, I've already got another comment about it, but if you aren't aware, David Prowse, the actor that was in the Darth Vader suit during the original Star Wars trilogy, passed away yesterday. He was 85, I believe. So, very full life. Obviously, made his mark on the universe. Look down at my computer, and there's powder all over it for some reason. So, very sad that happened. But as I've said many times before on these, I don't find it tragic when someone lives a full life and dies like in their 80s. It's not really tragic to me. Sad, mourn their loss, of course. But in the case of these types of celebrities, to me, it's more of an opportunity to celebrate all that they did. I think that's a better use of time in light of the lives that they've lived. So that's what I aim to do. And so anyway, yeah, that's it's sad, but he made his mark. We've all seen the movies that he's in, and he made an impact. Shake, hey Sean, happy 39th. Hope you had a blast yesterday. Yeah, if you aren't aware, yesterday was my birthday. Turned 39 years old, so got this killer new look for a few days at least. Like to, whenever I go from a beard to no beard, that means there's opportunities for goofy hairstyles for a little bit. So we got the sweet stash for the beginning of 39. Probably won't stick around too long, but at least for a little bit in a few videos that people will see. Thomas Jones, hope you had a good birthday, Sean. Looking forward to your DreamWorks ranking over the next few days. Yeah, I'm looking forward to be done with this project. When you work on one for like 6 months, towards the end, it's been a drag, because there's ones you're excited to watch. You normally watch those at the beginning, and then you get to like the bottom 10, and the 10 that you kept being like, let's watch that later, and you have to watch all 10 of those in a row. That's kind of what's happened. So and it's just also a big project. I up until actually this morning, I was still thinking I was going to do it as one video, and then I just went, what am I doing? Why would I do that? When I did the Marvel ranking, I broke it into 3 parts. And that I've done some character rankings, Marvel character rankings, that are like 38, 39 characters, but those are easier to shoot. Talking about a character is a lot easier than talking, and even editing the video is a lot easier to edit and film talking about a character than a movie. Like trying to have a movie review where you say something interesting, unique, that's under a minute long, like concise enough. So either you just have to like really have your thoughts well thought out, well written, or you have to edit it to pieces to make it happen. Either way, it takes a long time to do movies, and so any ranking that's over 10 is a pretty big video for me to do. It's about movies. You have to get the trailers, the posters, and everything. And so you talk about, this isn't over 10, this is almost 40. I mean, anything over 20 is pretty exhausting. The 31 on 31, I mean, that's just a huge project. And this is even more than that. So, and it took me, I watched them over a longer period of time. So anyway, I'm going to be happy to finish this one. Shank, I'm in the process of watching the Star Wars prequels for the first time. I was never a biggest Star Wars fan, but watching the prequels made me appreciate the mythology so much more. Yeah, there's a lot of mythology. I mean, the prequels in particular get picked on because it's childish, and George Lucas's faults show quite a bit in the prequels. But there are a lot of good ideas in there, too. Majestic David, maybe the dust is from the jujitsu got on your laptop. If you don't know what he's referring to, whenever I talk about the movie Jujitsu, I did some powder tricks where powder shot out of my hands. That powder probably just landed on my laptop, and so he's probably right about that. The Nicodug Express. Happy birthday, Sean. It's my first live stream here. I hope I look as good as you when I'm your age. Well, the secret is you just sleep with a bag of lotion on your head. That's basically it. Just sleep with a bag of lotion on your head and watch childish escapism when you're a grown-up instead of the news or anything that puts stress in your life. There you go. That's my secrets to success. Thanks so much for tuning in. They're super laid back. I try to answer, I answer almost everybody's questions, and so they're fun because it's more of a back and forth chat and everything like that. I get delayed. So if it seems like you ask a question, I don't respond to it for a while, just realize there's a bunch of questions in front of you, most likely is what happened. Because I get to everybody and I take my time a little bit. So just be patient and I'll get to your question. If that happens, I said that as if you were waiting. I'm letting you know. Rich Reviews, on December 18th, I turned 34. Happy birthday a little bit in advance. Yeah, fun times. So I guess that makes me 5 years older than you. Hey Sean, do you ever get burned out from watching so many movies? Also, happy belated birthday. It's tough to describe it. Having to watch so many movies kind of messes with me a little bit. It creates an unnatural way that I perceive of what I watch in my free time. And I think that's where I feel the burn a little bit more. So I'll have days where I'll be like, okay, I'm not trying to just watch through my list. I just want to relax and put something on. And then I can't shut my brain off. It's tough to just watch something. And the other part, it's not just that I have to watch them. I have to watch them and write notes down. It doesn't have to be a final form. It's not, no one's going to see that. And that's why I don't really use Letterboxd. People all the time are like, why don't you use Letterboxd? You could track your notes over there. Well, that would mean that every time I watch a movie, I have to do a homework assignment for the public. Not just writing my notes, which in and of itself is a good bit of work, but having to write a mini little essay for the public with my thoughts. And I don't want to do that. And so that's where I think I get a little bit more burned, is that it just changes the way that I think about movies. And I'll be like, I'd like to watch this movie. Well, I know I've got a ranking coming up for that, so I guess I'll sit on it because I don't want to have to watch it right now and write a bunch of notes. That's not normal. It's a weird way to watch stuff. And so I think that's more draining to me than actually the process of watching so many movies or having dictated to me sorts what I have to watch. It's more the trickle down effect of what I do on me. Thomas Jones, I can imagine. I'm glad you finished. Hope it gets the views it deserves. Finally saw Tenet Thursday. It's really enjoyed it. Seeing it in standard 2D helped with the sound mixing issues for me. Yes, I will be excited to be done with this video. It's just a big project. It has just dominated so much of my time. So some people have been like, hey, are you going to check out this movie? Are you going to watch this movie in November? No, I just don't have time. Like our kids lost TV for a week and a half ago. We took a break, detox from television. And I still had to watch DreamWorks movies. So my wife and I are watching DreamWorks movies without our kids. And this last week, I was watching 2 days of DreamWorks movies. And they're not the movies that I would choose to watch in my free time. Like, not one movie on that list is one that, and there's some great movies on that list. I mean, I love the How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, really well done. But they're not the movies that in my free time, let's just put on an animated movie. I'm just not that guy, really. I'm not like that. And so it's just a lot of movies that I wouldn't by default choose to watch. So that, not having to do that, being past that, and it's also the monotony of all of it. It's all in one category. Like, I've got, like, watching like the Shrek movies or Madagascar, it's like I can do that in about a week and I feel like I finished something. This has been 6 months of like, it's not done, I'm not moving on. That's what can get exhausting for me. And so I'm pretty excited that, like, I'm going to have a bunch of these standalone quick little rankings in the near future. I got Hannibal Lecter, I think Ninja Turtles, I think I'm going to try to do the Santa Claus movies, all in the next couple of weeks. It took 6 months to do DreamWorks, and I'll crank these out in a matter of a week or something like that. Rich Reviews, I hope you're staying safe during COVID. I don't leave my house too much, but I'm also not terribly worried about it. I don't not. I mean, obviously you should take it seriously, but I'm not in the most congested area, and I'm not around a ton of people normally, and I'm not in any risk class. So I just don't. I don't feel there's a need on my part to be stressed about something that isn't really a stressor given my lifestyle and age and health. David Patterson, I've seen all 25 films from Martin Scorsese. That would put you ahead of me. I have not. I'm thinking of trying to. I don't know. I'm trying to decide which next after Fincher, which big kind of iconic director I tackle next. Might need to just see who's got, if someone's got something in like June, about 6 months for kind of one of these bigger directors or something like that. Scorsese doesn't have one for a little bit, but I'm falling behind on my question. We're going to try and speed up a little bit. Vanders Wilson, how do you think the Avatar sequels are going to do, and what do you think it'll leave on Cameron's legacy? Man, I think his legacy is already tarnished by Avatar. In a very weird way, in a distinct, unique way. It's not, his career is unlike anyone else's because no matter what, his legacy is established that he directed multiple of the best sequels of all time, best sci-fi action movies of all time. I would call them just some of the best movies of all time. And apart from best sequels, best sci-fi action, just best movies, he also did back-to-back the biggest blockbusters of all time as standalone movies. And like, as much as it, like, Endgame beat Avatar, I think it beat Avatar. I don't care about re-releases. Avatar had re-releases. But if you factor in inflation, Avatar, I'm pretty sure, still wins by a decent enough percentage. More importantly, though, Avengers had 21 movies of build up to it. Avatar did it with just one movie. And no one can take that away from him. But his legacy will always be, man, he made so many great movies from 1984 to 1997. Like, so many great movies and an incredible batting average. And then for the next 30 years, he spent it all on one franchise as a director. And I think that will forever tarnish his legacy, unless they're mind-blowing. And I have a hard time seeing it. His track record with sequels is 100. He's batting 1,000%. Like, his track record with sequels is unbelievable. But that literally, his last sequel will have been over 30 years before he does Avatar 2. Over 30 years. And for me, of the real James Cameron movies, Avatar is his worst movie. He directed Piranha 2. Technically he did. That's, of course, his worst movie, if you count that one. But of real James Cameron movies, I think Avatar's by far his worst. It's still very incredibly watchable. I'd give it a positive review. I think James Cameron is phenomenal. But that's my least favorite of the batch. With least interesting to me. Incredible special effects. Pretty forgettable everything else. How do I think it'll do? Man, I don't know. I have such a tough time seeing the movie doing well. Or anything close to what it did before. Like, I'd be kind of even surprised if the first one even cracked $1 billion, which would be like a third of what the previous one did. Like, I'd be impressed if it did $1 billion. But he's James Cameron. His last two movies, people are like, oh man, what is James Cameron doing? Why is he spending so much time on this movie? He's about to ruin his career. Back-to-back number ones. So you can't write off James Cameron. You can't write off his track record with sequels. But it looks bad from where I'm at. Menace Ninja, I love The Mandalorian, but in my opinion, I really hate how short the episodes are and how there's only 8 episodes and 4 of them are being filler. Some are good and the others really aren't. There's a lot in there that I would... There's several things to unpack. I really hate how short the episodes are. Well, the episodes are very different lengths. This season we had one episode. This season we've only had one episode under 40 minutes, I believe. One episode under 40 minutes, and that was episode 3 of this season. Episode 1 was 55 minutes. You can't go much longer than that with a TV show. And then episode 2 and this latest one, I believe, like 45 minutes. So those aren't short. Like, those are not short episodes. Network television is 40 to 43 minutes with the commercials. So this season's average length of an episode is longer than network television. So I hear what you're saying on some of them. I think they're too short, but at the same time, they don't have any constraints. That's just what they wrote. That's what they had. Hate those. It was only 8 episodes. For what they're like, I see what you're saying because of where you go next with this. I don't have a problem with 8-episode seasons if you're not wasting your 8 episodes. Let's lead to our next one. 4 of them being filler. I just don't. I wouldn't agree with that. I wouldn't accept that premise. I think there have been some filler episodes. There have been some that I don't think added too much, and they were the weakest episodes of their seasons. But saying half of them are filler, I just disagree with that. Even season 1, you have several of those standalone missions that they go on that you can call them filler because they don't add to the meta narrative. But I don't accept the premise that just because an episode doesn't add to the meta narrative means it's filler. Some of the, like the one where Cara Dune is introduced, that's just a really good standalone episode. It's not filler, I wouldn't say at all. It's a cool little Western in the world of Star Wars, adding in a character that's been a big part of part of the show since. So I wouldn't call that filler, but to get to 4 episodes of filler per season, you'd have to include that one. I would definitely disagree with that. So I think just if you move away from expecting it to be all serialized, it's a lot easier to accept some of these episodes for what they are and what the show's trying to do. The show is not trying to be an 8-hour long movie or a 6-hour long movie spread into 8 parts. It's not trying to do that. So as soon as you move away from that thought, you can just accept these stories as, and that's what television was up until the advent of DVD box sets. Every show was episodic by nature. And Saturday morning cartoons, still episodic, most of them. And when we started getting to the era where you could buy a whole set of DVDs for a reasonable price, and then, of course, with streaming, and then when you got into extremely TV shows, the model changed radically to where now we expect shows to be kind of these, a season is basically a 10-hour movie, an 8-hour movie. But that's a new invention, and I don't fault a show for not following that. Landon, have you seen Little Miss Sunshine? I have not. Sorry. Dick Dog Express. I'm from California. We're in the middle of another shutdown with curfews in place in operation. How is it in Texas? Texas is. We haven't had any additional shutdowns, and the governor said he's not going to do that. You do have big spikes and surges. I've known a few more people over the last few weeks that have gotten it. And there have been little adjustments here and there. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting just the way that different places perceive of it, of all the information that we have and their reactions to it. But Texas is not one to be like, let's shut everything down. Texas by its nature is very libertarian, let people make their own choices for what's best for them. Whereas California and New York tend to be a little bit more think about the group. And that tends to be what happens when you have more congested spaces where you affect everyone. Your actions affect the people around you in a much greater fashion because you're in a more densely populated area. It matters a little bit more what individuals do and how it relates to other people. In Texas, you just have not far from here, you have people living on large acres of land. My mom's house for about 20 years ago was on 5 acres of land, just about 10 miles that way. And you think about things very differently in places like that. Gamerman, I listened to your Tomb Raider Salvation review last night, and I agree. I think it's highly underrated and better than Dark Fate. Yeah, I rewatched Dark Fate, I don't know, a couple months ago. I stand by my original opinion. I'm a defender of it, but I'm a defender of Salvation too. I think there's some criticisms of it that are fair. The movie was spoiled by its marketing, and that's a big problem. But beyond that, I think it does something different and interesting. I like it. So I'm confused by the amount of hate it gets. There's certain movies like Genesis, I get it. Dark Fate, I'm a defender of Dark Fate. I totally get why a bunch of people could not accept that movie or had issues with various things about it. Salvation, however, I don't fully get where they're coming from. Rich reviews. Well, I did see Make. My reaction is largely as okay. Here are some whole bunch of famous people are being played by a whole bunch of famous people. Citizen Kane for me is a fine film, but not all-time best. Question back to you, Rich reviews. Then what is the best movie of all time? I think Citizen Kane's one of those movies that it works best when you perceive of it as its level of importance in cinematic history. Of all the cinematic techniques, even the language, when we talk about what is cinematic about a movie, so much of that comes from Citizen Kane. Like if you watch The Wizard of Oz, it's filmed a little bit like a play. That you have a set and they kind of dance and do a scene in this one set, and there's close-ups and there's pullbacks, but it plays like a filmed play. And then they go to the next set where they do things. And when you start getting Citizen Kane, 4 years later, very shortly after that, it starts to feel like cinema as we know it today. So what would you say is the best movie of all time, Rich Reviews? Actually, all of you, if you guys want to throw it in there. What is the best movie of all time? I don't have a guess. I don't work in best and worst. John Sutherland, hope you had a good Thanksgiving and a great birthday. Out of the popular 18 to 39 out of the popular 18 to 39 demographic yet, or just really close? I'm 39. I turned 39. So I break out of it next year. That's this year. I'm gonna best 38 was supposed to be my best year ever, or 2020 was supposed to be my best year ever. I wrote that on my mirror in my bathroom, and then 2020 happened, and so I'm trying. It's more like make the best of a bad year has been more my motto, and I've gotten a lot of stuff done. Patreon is a lot better than it was in 2019. It's grown a lot. There's a lot of new people in it, and I think it's I'm adding a lot more value here. I lost my place. And then I had the course that I've created. But on the main YouTube stuff, it's been frustrating without big movies. So 39 and 40, going to make it this next year to be my best year ever, so I can peak at age 40 before I start going downhill. Landon Peterson, I'm kind of confused. Why are we getting two of the biggest movies, Soul and Wonder Woman, on Christmas? Even if it was just one of these, it's Christmas, but it's two. I think I don't know why they're doing Wonder Woman on Christmas Day. Whenever they did their reshuffle of announcements, I think they should have put it in the theater week before. I don't understand. Literally for me personally, as a movie reviewer with where things are at right now, I don't think I'm going to get any sort of press access to it. I'm not anticipating that, which means that if I want to see it, I'm going to have to wait till it debuts on HBO Max to go to the theater. I'd rather see it in the theater. When I'm going to see it in the theater, I want to take my kids and my wife. They want to see it too. Christmas Day? What if there's showings? What if there's showings the night before? That's Christmas Eve. All of this is family stuff for me. So, as a movie reviewer, that to me, this is the biggest, as you said, of the year, and the biggest stuff we've had in months and months and months. I'm counting on these movies to get views for my channel, end the year strong. And actually, hopefully, get some new subscribers so I can hit 170,000 subscribers this year. But it's Christmas Day. It'd make my life a lot easier if they just shuffled it forward to, at least with Wonder Woman hitting theaters and everything, just 1 week earlier. I don't know they're thinking at all. It's bizarre. But just a demon, I can't believe how many classic Disney films had anniversaries this month. Rescuers Down Under, Little Mermaid, Toy Story, Oliver and Company, Tangled, and Moana. Well, you have to think about it. Basically what studios do is they do that intentionally. They set a month as their release window. I mean, you could throw into that list for November, Frozen 2. It keeps on going and going. It wasn't, years before that was, Wreck-It Ralph 2. They pick a window that works for them, and they just kind of block it out. We're going to have a new movie every that. For the last 5 years, Star Wars had December. They just kept December. Every December, we get a new Star Wars movie. Marvel, first week of May, last week of April, right in there. Always one. And they do that intentionally. They just kind of create a little bit of a rhythm for the audience as well as for themselves. Anish, with Wonder Woman coming out on Christmas, do you have a plan for your balancing DC videos with end of the year videos? And Pixar, Soul's the same day. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, honestly, I do not know what I'm going to do, because those types of videos are my hit things. In any given window, that's my hit stuff. And I like November, there was not one tee off. The movie itself was the draw. It was all me trying to come up with an idea that would attract people. and it like my channel is suffering because of it, like, and I'm like exhausted because of it. So getting to the end of the year and it's like, wait, a Pixar movie and a DC movie, awesome, and the end of the year, and we're doing a 31 on 31 on this, December 31st. Tarantino, Fincher, and Nolan ranked together. That'll be huge on my channel. All of it in one, the same. And the day after that huge video, my annual ranking where I rank all the movies I saw in the previous year. And then I'll fall into a coma January 2nd. So what's going to happen? But I don't know. I have a bunch of stuff written down. I'll probably do some polls and I'll ask people, hey, which DC movie or video ranking are you interested in? Hey, which would you rather see? Which one are you more likely to click on? And I'm going to have to do some polls to figure that out. There's even some stuff that are normally big hits for me, like my annual every comic book movie of this year ranked. Normally a big hit for me because I cover comic book stuff. In the year 2020, there's more than you think. Like Jiu-Jitsu with Nicolas Cage from a week ago. That's based on a comic book. It's based off a comic book from the director, but it is based off a comic book. Old Guard, based off of a comic book. So there's more than you think, but we have no Marvel from any studio. So I might drop that one, even though it's almost always a big surefire hit. Maybe I'll hold that one off. I don't know. It's tough to know what to do. Nick and Doug, we answer. I discussed that. I don't know what I'm doing for Wonder Woman, but I'm not going to delay. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to see it as soon as I can, because in the year 2020, I just need hit content like that. And I think my family knows that. My wife, they would agree with that. The tricky part is just I don't want to leave them, and I don't want to get a babysitter for the baby, and I don't think I can take the baby to Wonder Woman. Everyone else could go. So maybe my mom would be cool. That could be fun. I just don't know. Honestly, the baby's probably the toughest part about it. Is you don't want to break up your family for that event, and I do not want to take the baby to Wonder Woman 1984. She would not behave well enough. Matthew McCarthy, have you seen the Netflix Christmas movie Claus? No, everyone else in my household has. Everyone here tells me it's great, but I actually personally have not seen it. Landon Peterson, most underrated director of mine is S. Craig Zoller, Brawlin, Subblock 99. Thanks for stream. See you next week. Yeah, I love his 3 movies. I'd agree with you there. There's not enough people talking about him, and he's kind of like doesn't feel like a Tarantino knockoff, but I feel like Tarantino. There's a lot of similar stuff in his end, so I really like his stuff. Majestic Demon, what are your thoughts on the Jim Carrey How the Grinch Stole Christmas movie? I've never seen it. Never had any interest. Probably over 50% chance I'll watch it in the next 2 weeks, though, and rank the Grinch movies, the versions of the Grinch. That's probably over 50% chance of that. John Sutherland, my top 10 favorite movies and yours are very similar, except for one that I don't know that you've talked about, American History X. Would love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, so I've seen it, I think, a couple of times. You know, whenever I'm of the age that whenever it first kind of came out and everyone was talking about it, I was like right into my phase of discovering movies like that, movies that weren't just about robots destroying cities and things like that. And so, you know, I checked it out pretty early on, and I was of those types of movies, I tend to fall in line with most people. My lists a lot of times look a lot like lists of people my age that look like me. And that's one I never connected with as much as other people. Like, I didn't have big issues with it. I didn't have like criticisms of it. But the way that other people just resonated with it, that wasn't for me. Like, for me, it just created 20 years worth of curb stomp jokes for me. And, you know, that goes great with people love curb stomp jokes. I have a dark sense of humor. But it's not one that, you know, like I said, it's been a long time since I've even watched it, so I can't even comment any specifics. I probably should just rewatch it for the sake of being able to give a better take on it, because I know a lot of people did care more about it, connect with it more than I did. Quentin recently saw a post questioning what movie will break Endgame's record. Any guesses of what it could be? Just another MCU film? Way down the line is really my guess. No, I think it's impossible to make those predictions. like Endgame was maybe the one time you could have predicted it, and people really even weren't predicting it then because there's just these movies that catch something. Like there's articles and videos analyzing why did Avatar make so much money. It's tough to say, and this goes back back a long time when Jaws did it, when Jaws was number one, and then Star Wars was number one, and then E.T. was number one. There's something about these movies that just connect with people at the right way at the right time, and I think Avatar in particular is just maybe I don't know. Both of James Cameron's are just weird anomalies, because why those two movies? Because it's not like why were they hits, but it's why did they connect so well with the people of that time with such broad appeal, and how did they create this must watch in the theater experience? And my wife she's of the age to where she saw Titanic in the theater a million times, but it's a movie that it wasn't just teenage girls, everybody went to go see it. And then what was it about Titanic or Avatar that it was the 3D, but people don't like 3D that much. So it's just odd the way that certain movies just catch it in some way. And really Endgame is the only one that I think seemed like, yeah, okay. Endgame turned out to be an enormous hit of epic proportions. This movie that was the culmination of 22 years of movies that were well received by audiences and critics. Shocking. It's the one that wasn't surprising. So I don't have a guess. I have no guesses. Matthew, what are some of your favorite TV Christmas specials? Mine are Charlie Brown, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman, Disney Prep Plus Landing. Disney's Prep Plus Landing. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I mean all the ones you're mentioning. I don't have deep cut Christmas special ones. I like everyone else. I grew up on Charlie Brown Christmas, Rudolph, Frosty. Rudolph probably a little bit weird for me, so I might boot that one. But Frosty, Charlie Brown, still watch those ones a ton. I don't think I have any deeper cuts to be like, here's my interesting one. Have you guys? Nothing's coming to mind. Here's a fun one. Majestic Demon. What do you think of Dan Trachtenberg directing a new Predator film? I'm probably more lenient towards sequels, reboots, remakes, whatever, than most people. So I love Predator. Here's a big one. This one could be fun. Is that my son is obsessed with predators and aliens, xenomorphs. So he just those sorts of creatures. A Minecraft channel he watches. Beck Bro Jack, I guess, had a Minecraft xenomorph, Minecraft predator, and so then that got it really on his radar. He knew I was into them a lot, and then I did this 31 on 31 creature feature. Was watching the movie, so I actually did let him watch Predator with us. So and there's a new Predator hunting ground game, so he's played a little bit of the Predator hunting. I'm a terrible parent that lets my kids watch Predator skin people alive. So he's really into it. So assuming jump forward a couple more years, 3 years or so when it comes out, like I could take him to go see it in the theater as like the first time I take him to an R-rated movie or something like that. So probably still too young for that to be a responsible thing to do, but it sounds like a good idea to me. And then the director they chose is a good pick because I think he's probably a good pick because he's not an obvious one, and he directed a really good tense thriller in 10 Cloverfield Lane. So I'm very optimistic about it. I would probably as much as the fanboy in me would love some sort of Dutch team up movie with Adrian Brody and Danny Glover. I think where they ended the Predator, they just wrote themselves into a corner because people didn't like that movie. They didn't like the additions to the mythology. So I think they're going to have to do something different with it. Shashank, I do believe a lot of movies which may be perceived of as the greatest movie of all time all end up being the most influential in terms of techniques. I could never connect with The Matrix, but in the context of how it influenced cinema is huge. Can't connect with The Matrix. Both fun wordplay and what? The Matrix, you have to love The Matrix. So, I think there's a truth to that of when we even kind of discuss what it means to be one of the greatest of all time. I think even factored into that is that you have to make a movie that transcends what's come before, that moves things forward. if you're just like slightly building on what came before, telling another one of these movies we've seen, that's not really the greatest. Like, to be the greatest, you have to be above everything. To be above everything, you have to do something new to build up on top of everything that's come before. And I think that what makes it really tough to pick what's the greatest movie of all time. That was an awkward gesture. Because we've built on top of Citizen Kane for 80 years. We took everything that Orson Welles did that moved film cinema forward, and we built on top of it for a very long time. And technology has gotten a lot better. Storytelling has gotten a lot more sophisticated in a number of different ways, and the techniques, and we've just built on top of it. And so when you watch it now, as groundbreaking as so much of it is, there's all sorts of things about it that also feel like an 80-year-old movie. It's in black and white. So I think it's just really tough to pick greatest. That's why I stay out of that game. Quentin, since you asked the contemporary films I feel comfortable talking about, Shawshank Redemption is the best movie in my opinion. It's a great one. I'm not going to argue with you. It's a great one. Especially rewatching it. I mean, it's not one that I watch a ton. So maybe every 5 years or so I will put it on. Every time I watch it, it's like, okay. And it's I think a movie that's good to do that with. Let enough time pass so that every time you watch it, you can be like, this is a good one. The circumstances of this year certainly lowered the number of blockbusters we got, but do you think it drastically lowered the number of great movies? Yeah, I do. It could, a lot of that could simply be that they're not on my radar. I'm not getting invited to the press screenings. I didn't go to the film festivals that I otherwise would have been to. So there's a lot of stuff that it's a lot easier for it to just not be on my mind. I don't know what the best picture contenders are. I don't know. And normally I would have a much better feel for that. But it just feels like I'm so disconnected from that world because I don't have the wiggle room on my channel to have videos that are just going nowhere. And, even last weekend I was like, okay, I'll just put out a jiu-jitsu review. Okay, I'll just put out Vanguard. And they did really bad. And it kind of hurt the channel for the month for me that I decided to do that instead of doing one solid video there that would have gotten more traction. I put out 2 videos that no one was really interested in. And, Anyway, so I just not in the know enough, but it feels a lot to me that like there's not nearly as many great films being discussed the way that you normally would. Like we're going into December, and normally I would feel like we'd have a better vibe over the last couple of months of what would be those best picture contenders. I have no clue. Nikita, I don't say best or worst movies for myself, but The Shawshank Redemption has always been the number one on my list. I just think it's flawless and beautiful. So, 2 back-to-back Shawshanks. It's a great one. Shawshank goes for The Godfather. And Shawshank, there we go. 3 Shawshanks. Jaws and Taxi Driver inspired me immensely, so that would be on the list. So, of these ones, Spielberg's huge for me, so Jaws would be a big one. It's my wife's favorite movie. And it's fun video coming, I believe, on December 23rd. I'm going to rank my wife's top 14 favorite movies. It's our 14th anniversary, so I'm going to watch and rank her 14 favorite movies. So it's interesting. We cheated a little bit because her taste in movies aren't as detached as the list will look. So I had her give me the top 20. All right, and her top 10 was locked. I fiddled with the 11, 12, 13, 14 a little bit. Otherwise, you would have had Terminator 2, Die Hard in there, and a couple other ones that I talk about a lot. And so I cheated just a little bit to get to make sure it felt like a list that wasn't just my list, and I could talk about things I don't normally talk about. But that's coming. Anyway, we're talking about stuff. But yeah, Shawshank, great little movie that's not little, it's pretty big. But it's so accessible, but also well done. And it's just like that to me is when you have a movie that's really great. Menace Ninja Part 1, I do agree with you, but with the 6 to 7 minutes after credits really does make the episodes a bit short. Also, that the show is getting kind of repetitive. I'll give you that. There's some repetitiveness. I think that's a little bit of, he shows up somewhere, meets someone, asks for their help, and they say, I'll help you, but first I got a little mission. We've done a lot of that. It feels like we've done a lot. This whole season is that. He goes somewhere, hey, can you help me? Sure, but first. Part 2, what I mean by repetitive is that at the episode, into the character, the Mandalorian tells him to go somewhere. The next episode, they delay it with side quest. Yeah, I think those are fair criticisms. Those ones I won't try and defend that. That is true. And I think even the way that it's there, because it feels so much like he goes somewhere. Someone says, I can give you some information, but first help me. And then at the end, here's where you need to go. He goes there. I've got some information to help you, but first, It draws attention to the fact that these are all side quests. Draws attention to the fact that even as much as this season we've added a bunch of pieces and they have built out the mythology over the last couple episodes, we haven't really had an episode that was straight up the mission is directly tied to the meta plot. Intentionally. Where they go to attack this guy, it's always they meet a person that ties into it with a side quest. Gamerman, Rocky, Creed movies, ranked. Rocky 5, Rocky 2 at the bottom. Wow. Rocky 3, Rocky. This list, you're breaking my heart. Rocky 4, Creed, Rocky in third place. Creed, and then Rocky Balboa. I do appreciate the Rocky Balboa love. That one, I do love to see that one getting lots of support. Some of those other placements, you're breaking my heart. Then again, besides Rocky 5 being at the bottom, whatever's going to be at number 6 is going to break my heart. So there's no winning there. My own list breaks my own heart. I don't even know what my list is. Where do I have Rocky 2? Maybe I have Rocky 2 at the bottom too. Dayton Radunsky, a bit late. What? Now I'm thinking about it. What is my Rocky ranking? What do I have? Let me look it up. I wonder if yours is like the same as mine, and I just love them all so much that I don't want anything low. Okay, this version, I have Rocky 3 at number 7. At number 6, I have Rocky 2. I don't think that's my formal latest one. Rocky. Why? Sorry. Probably shouldn't do research projects while you guys are watching. So anyway, yeah, it looks like mine's not terribly far off from yours. It's just when you have a franchise you love so much, nothing can be at the bottom. Besides Rocky 5, of course. But anyway, bit late to this live, but happy belated. Thank you so much. I don't know why I waved at you. Dayton, have you seen Out for Justice with Steven Seagal? Of course I have. I've got the Steven Seagal collection. Actually, that's not even in here, is it? It's not even in this particular set. But, yeah, I mean, I've seen all of his peak stuff. I guess I think he faded on quality for me after Under Siege 2. I'll even give him Under Siege 2, but I think after that, the Fire Down Below and Glimmerman, that stuff didn't. I actually maybe need to give the Glimmerman another shot, but kind of faded there towards the end. But that Above the Law through Under Siege 2, I've watched all of those a million times. Part 3, and the side quest happened because the Mango ship broke down, and then he has to help someone while his ship is being fixed. And when his ship is fixed, then the story continues, and it happens a lot. Yes. Dave Patterson, have you seen Mank yet? If not, are you going to wait for December 4th? No. Well, my hope is... What's today? Sunday? I might try to go see it tomorrow night at the Draft House. But I would have seen it yesterday for my birthday as kind of a birthday date with my wife, and my in-laws volunteered to watch the kids, but it's only showing at the Alamo Draft House, and they live in Georgetown, which is very far north, and the Alamo Draft House are all just
so far away. And so it would be literally us driving 30 minutes to Georgetown to drop the kids off, driving 30 minutes to the movie theater, watch the movie, drive 30 minutes back to pick the kids up. And I didn't want to spend that much of my birthday driving around Austin. So probably tomorrow. Problem is what tomorrow I want to say. Dayton, what do you think of Grand Theft Auto Online? I've never played it online. I've never had any interest in playing online. I don't. It strikes me as odd. Maybe it would blow my mind, obviously, because the world is incredible. But I've never played it. I've never been drawn towards it. And I love Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and 5. Didn't like 4 very much. Dayton, do you still think that Superman 4 is a bad movie but enjoyable? Yeah. I mean, it is a bad movie, and I find it totally watchable. That's not going to change. You have to keep. I've been watching that movie as much of my life as I can remember, which would be over 30 years, and that's where I've always kind of landed on it. That it's a bad, very watchable movie. So that'll never change. Rich reviews. I always thought that the Rudolph stop animation film to be depressing. It is. You are not wrong. Shashank, there is something about the original Predator that connects on a visceral level. Both my dad and I watch the movie every 3 months since the past 2 years, possibly my favorite Arnold film. Yeah, you are correct. And I look forward to the days when I can responsibly watch it every 3 months with my son. So yeah, it's just really well done. It works like a movie that just brings you into that world and sticks, especially for a movie that had so many production troubles. I mean, I'm sure you know this, but Jean-Claude Van Damme was cast as the Predator, and he was filming for months and months and months as the Predator in a different design and everything. And they're like, oh crap, this looks stupid. And then they do big reshoots, cast a different guy. And so they had to change all this stuff up for it. And the pulls, you would never know that. Rich reviews, if the Predator film was set in the past, maybe I'd be interested in it. I hadn't even thought about that because I haven't really paused to think about it too much because I've been so busy with thinking DreamWorks movies. But exactly, if you could do something, like there's all these things you can do with it that aren't just, look, a new type of predator showed up in a new jungle. Like you can really have a lot of fun with it as soon as you go outside the box. And that's why I'm usually normally optimistic about these things. In my opinion, the greatest film ever made is The Godfather, while the second greatest is The Godfather Part 2. So we got several Godfather mentions in here. If you guys checked out my IMDb ranking or my Godfather ranking, I've never been as on board with the Godfather Part 2 as I am with Part 1. And it had been a while since I'd watched them. But that had always been my impression of like, yeah, Godfather 1, man, I get the love. The second one, and I'd always heard, might be better than the first. And I watched the second one, was like, I would not agree with that. It's, of course, very well made. I'm not hating on it, but it does not stir up the same emotions in me that the first one was. Prep and Landing is underrated. Basically, a cynical Christmas elf passed for a promotional trains a young, optimistic rookie elf and learns the true meaning of Christmas. It's on Disney Plus. I recommend it. Might look into it for my children. Quentin, should there be an Oscar category for action movies? Best stunts, maybe? What are some movies that have won? What are some movies that have won in an action category? What has won? I don't know off the top of my head. I couldn't pull up that fact off the top of my head. I absolutely think that there should be some sort of best stunt category. The trick with a lot of this stuff is that, especially now, it's tough to know what's a stunt and what's CGI, what was done on a green screen. And so I think that's where it makes some of it difficult. But then again, they have a best screenplay category, two screenplay categories. You believe that all these people are reading the nominated screenplays? Are they reading all the screenplays to even figure out what should be nominated? So that's where some of the stuff gets tricky when you stop to think about the implications of how the voting actually works, and you start to see some of the faults in categories. But I absolutely think that there should be a stunt category. Quentin, news of the World trailer. Tom Hanks, have you seen it? Plans to see it? It's a Christmas release so I'd understand it if not. No, I actually haven't seen the trailer for it. I don't think I've heard anything about it. Maybe I've seen a picture here and there, but it's not one that's caught my attention because we've got Soul and Wonder Woman. There's like a 0% chance I'll review it. I doubt I'll see it. I'll just be too busy. Rich reviews thoughts on the new director's cut of Godfather 3 that alters the ending slightly. I've said it before. I've only seen Godfather Part 3 once, and that was a few months ago when I did the Godfather ranking that I did because I was watching the other two movies anyway for my IMDb ranking. That's the only time I've ever seen it, so I'm not very interested in watching the director's cut of it. I wouldn't notice the differences because I haven't seen the movie enough times. As everyone would say, the film's biggest fault is that he cast his daughter in that whole plot line being deeply based in incest. That's the stuff that I remember as negatives of the film. Those aren't things you can fix through another edit. So Francis Ford Coppola seems to love to re-edit his movies forever. Fair enough, but this doesn't seem like the movie that actually needed that. He can't fix the mistakes that he made. Sorry, my sinuses are doing weird stuff. Just Bonds, have you updated your Stomp to 3.0 yet? No. I believe you're referring to my guitar pedal. No, I haven't. I honestly haven't even used it since quarantine started because I used it for stuff at church. Well, actually, I haven't used it since I updated my intro for my channel. So I updated my channel music. I haven't used it since. So I'll grab a acoustic guitar from time to time, but I haven't done anything with electrics in months because I just used it for church, and that's what I bought it for. And so I've been kind of itching to like write a song, record a song, just to see if I could write something that I thought was shareable. And now I have an audience that could actually hear it, which is kind of fun. I've been thinking about doing that a lot recently, but that also requires me to write a song that I think is shareable, which is tricky in and of itself. Are there any movies you're embarrassed to say that you haven't seen yet? I only saw Home Alone for the first time yesterday. Embarrassed? Probably not embarrassed because it's just part of reality that nobody's seen everything. We all have that movie that it's odd that we haven't seen yet. So I don't feel embarrassed about that. It's just reality. So I haven't seen Casablanca. Anyway, people ask me all the time, "Hey, have you seen this? Have you seen this?" And there's always a bunch of them that I haven't seen. It's just there's a lot of them, but I can't say that I'm embarrassed about it. There's some that are a little bit odd, weird that I haven't seen them, but I'm not embarrassed by it. My first Comic-Con would have been in 2020, but it's pushed. Do you still think 2020 will actually happen or be online still? I think it's impossible to say. We are in such unprecedented territory that you just don't even know. Like, we got 2 vaccines that look very promising that can probably get out to a lot of people soon. But there's just nothing. There's nothing in the modern era comparable to what happened in 2020. So I have no idea. I know the Comic-Con that I spoke at back in 2019, they pushed to the fall. I mean, I think by fall, hopefully things are getting, like, I'm hopeful, but I'm certainly not willing to lock that one as a yes. Watched Nutcracker in the Four Realms the other day. Beautiful, visually, great score. Mackenzie Foy was great as Clara, but the story was too rushed, generic. Not as bad as people said, but not Joe Johnston's best. Actually, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. I can't comment on that one, but I have not heard good things, which is actually why I have not seen it. All right, Rocky ranking with the scores. Okay, the scores make more sense now that you put this actual scores on it. Then we're okay. Yours isn't terribly different from mine. it's like I saw yours at first. I was like, how could you have the? Mine's like that too. What else would I have to have something at 6? Viv said, I'm not quite sure if this will end up being an unpopular opinion, but I preferred Mank over Gone Girl. I mean, since there's such different movies, I think they're going to appeal to 2 different groups of people. So I don't think that they'll be like, here's the popular or unpopular opinion. I don't know the general impression of Mank. Gone Girl was very well received, and it had broad appeal. It was, a very mainstream type of story that got a lot of people to buy tickets for it. Mank seems a lot more of a film for film people, so it's not gonna make some of the ripples that Gone Girl did. Menace Theory. What if at the end of the season of Mandalorian, Ezra is the one that comes to Grogu, but Moff Gideon kidnaps Grogu at the end on a cliffhanger? Season 3 being Ezra and Mando on the hunt to find Grogu. I'd say over 50% that we get Ezra. Whether it's this season or next, I don't know. But I'd say over 50%. And I think over 50% we're going to see either Ezra or Thrawn in that finale. That's where I would be at. So I wouldn't get into plot. I wouldn't speculate on plot points. The show itself doesn't seem to be one to do kind of a cliffhanger that's like, and then he kidnapped him and they go on a mission to rescue him. To your point, that feels a little bit more like the type of thing that you would want, but that Jon Favreau seems to be avoiding doing that. Maybe that could be a way for them to improve the show, and I would think that would be a good idea to probably do some more stuff like that. And then that Baby Yoda gets kidnapped, and he must go. I think that would help them doing some stuff like that. I would think that would be an improvement, probably. It's all speculation, but I think there's a lot to what you're saying that could tie into reality. My Rocky ranking, from all I've seen, Rocky 2 and Rocky 1. That's the correct order for those two. John Sutherland and my family saw Titanic on Christmas Day 97. Couldn't even sit in the same row together. It's like 2 weeks of summer for theaters. Families with extra time. Maybe that's why Wonder Woman both being released. I mean, it's there's that, but the question is, why not put out Wonder Woman 1 week earlier? To your point of, it's 2 weeks of summer. No competition. No real competition. You put out 1 week early, you get both of those weeks. As soon as people are on vacation, you've got both of those weeks. Or if you put it on Christmas Day, I just don't. I think it's just odd. December is an opening. I don't think that's a good place for Wonder Woman, but that's kind of where they're stuck because of 2020. That wasn't their plan. Christmas Day is the thing to me that just seems weird if you're going to put it in a theater. So maybe they'll even do what they did with Tenet. With Tenet, they're like, hey, it comes out on this date. But actually, it comes out 4 days before. Sorry, I meant what previous movies would have won in an action Oscar category. The Mission Impossible movies would clean house. Raiders of the Lost Ark with the car chase would have won. I don't know. Off the top of my head, trying to think through what are the greatest stunts of all time can get a little bit tricky. An hour into a stream. Charlie, hey Sean, happy birthday. Thank you. Looking forward to your DreamWorks ranking this week. Me too. Yes. As soon as we finish this in the next few minutes, then I'm going to take like a 20-minute break, down some pre-workout stuff, get amped up, and then I start filming it. I haven't even filmed it yet. So that's going to be a 3 or 4 hour shoot. This is going to be a long one. Gamerman, do you think they'll ever make Grand Theft Auto 6? Yeah, I would guarantee it. I think it's over 90% likely they'll do Grand Theft Auto 6. They'd be crazy not to. All of the games are massive hits. And I think the way they're able to do that is they don't just crank out tons and tons of games. What they seem to have done the last 15 years. So Grand Theft Auto 3, they cranked out a few games, and that model seemed to work. But then Grand Theft Auto, they had one for the 360 PlayStation 3 generation, Grand Theft Auto 4, and then you had one for the last generation of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, Grand Theft Auto 5. Sort of Grand Theft Auto Online, but that's like a cousin more than a follow-up. And so I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to put out a game once the technology is, or actually, did Grand Theft Auto 5 even predate the PlayStation? Maybe they did put 2 out in that generation. They skipped over this current one, but if they did it, what a weird thing to do. What an odd choice on their part. I think that is, man. What why are they taking so long? But I think that they're gonna put out a game when they can put one out that is just the most mind blowing. Just trying to think, like, how do you even build off Grand Theft Auto 5? They'd already. What new features do you have? How much better is the graphics? Much bigger is the map? How long does that take to program? So, I think it's going to be mind blowing. Majestic Demon, I found a lot of movies on sale for Black Friday. Very cool, very cool. The Nick a Doug Express. If you were to sit down and rewatch the Christmas Chronicles, do you think you would watch the sequel back to back or just the first one only? Well, and since I just watched the sequel, I would just watch the first one. I wouldn't do back to back. And in the future, I'll probably, do a little bit of the two over a little bit of time. Shashank, for me, 2 classic films that always remain timeless are Jaws and Home Alone. I may have seen Home Alone over 80 times. It does not seem to have aged. And like, my kids love it, and my kids are under 10. I mean, it's really a timeless film. Matthew, favorite movies: Gladiator, Greatest Showman, Spider-Man 1 through 2, Toy Story 4, Shrek, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Room, Silver Lining Playbook, Gladiator, Uncut Gems, Sound of Music. Cool. Thomas Jones, are there any movie characters where you would struggle to see another actor in that role? Ryan Reynolds was Deadpool. I mean, there's a lot of them. Anytime you have a character that we've only seen, anytime a character is iconic and we've only seen one person play that character, it's difficult to see anyone else in it. And I think when you add to it, when it just feels like a really great combination. Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, one of those. Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man. Stallone, Rocky Balboa. Those are some that immediately come to mind. But I think it very much is, if you've only seen one person play the character, you just see, and it's a classic. It has to be a classic character. It's tough to imagine anyone else in there because you see the actor as well as the character. They're intertwined. Matthew, as a Jim Carrey fan, you should watch How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Maybe better than the Illumination one. I would assume it's better than the Illumination one, since the Illumination one is more an Illumination film than a Grinch film, Dr. Seuss film. It's much more interested in their shenanigans. But my 2-year-old has become obsessed with the Grinch over the last couple weeks, so it plays in my house a lot. The 3.0 has a poly capo function, so you can detune your guitar way down while playing in standard as well as acoustic. 12-string sounds fantastic. Wow, I need to experiment with that. I'm having a hard time imagining how that could sound good. How they could pull that. It's 12-string. That's pretty easy. I know what that would do, but a detuning one, well, I guess its detune is probably across the board of a detune. I have to check that out now. Now you have me curious. Quentin, in March, I bought tickets to a concert in June thinking it'd be all good by then. Not even sure by June next year will be normal. Can't wait for COVID to be gone. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that at first it was like we're just thinking, how many months? Is it going to be 6 months? And then once you get to enough times, like, wait, it's longer? It's longer. You stop trying to guess the end. You realize this thing is unprecedented and it's not an easy fix. So, I'm going to stop trying to guess the future. Heard somewhere from January to April of 2021 will either get pushed back to or moved to 2022. It looks like audiences may come back at the earliest in September of 2021. I don't see big crowds anytime soon. Wonder Woman's it'll probably do better than Tenet's numbers, but it's not saying much. So I don't think people are going back to the theaters in normal fashion for a very long time. Quentin, I agree, Rich. Next fall is the earliest. I'm super optimistic of returning to normal. In New York City, they have strict lockdown restrictions. It sucks. Long Island, at least theaters reopened. It's no fun, no fun. World being locked down because of deadly viruses. Frustrating. But yeah, I don't see, even with Black Widow being in May, that feels really optimistic to me at the moment. With where we're at, like we're still in the middle of this big gigantic winter spike. And this winter spike is way bigger than the August spike, July-August spike. The July-August spike was way bigger than the March-April spike. So the pattern thus far is just not looking like we should be optimistic about early dates. Vaccine is coming. Don't want to be doom and gloom. I'm just trying to be realistic and factor in all the information. It's not looking great. Gamerman, do you think Rocky V has gotten better since it does not have to deal with being the last movie in the franchise anymore? I mean, I think that helps it. That helps it just kind of be forgettable. It doesn't feel so much like, oh, now we ended on such a bad mark. So I'd agree with it in that regard. When we have all these movies afterwards that are very good, that are much better, obviously, than that film, it helps you much more to just ignore it. You can't ignore it when it's the end. But when it's just some weird little offshoot about Tommy Gunn, I guess, you just forget about it. Quentin, can't wait to see How to Train Your Dragon third, second, first on the DreamWorks list. Okay, maybe that'll be my list. Road to El Dorado. Jallikattu was India's official submission for the best foreign language film at the Oscars. Remember you telling me in your Three Idiots video that was the first Indian film you had seen. I believe that's true. Certainly the first one I saw in a theater. So I saw it at a film festival. So, I believe that's true. Menace Ninja, do you think Mando will use the Darksaber as a weapon? I don't think he'll use it. I don't think he'll be the one that takes it. Even looking at who we have Bo-Katan, got Ahsoka Tano. The idea that he would be the one using it feels like that would be like. Is there a chance that at some moment he will have it in his hand and swing it? Sure. Do I think it'll be anything more than that? I don't think it'll be much more than that. But I wouldn't even guess that. Gamerman, I think this might be a weird question. Do you think Grand Theft Auto 6 should go to space since the last game introduces aliens to Grand Theft Auto? No, I don't. I think that no. What makes those games great is how grounded they are. Like that it feels like you're driving through actual Los Angeles. That's cool. And it has really good game physics and stuff like that. So it has great escapism to feeling like you're this criminal guy in a real city. And so if they said, yeah, we're actually going to do this one in space. Yeah, a big part of it, you go up into a space shuttle. We've lost what we're doing. More importantly, just even what would you do in space? Like, if there's some weird side mission where you jump in a rocket ship and you go up to a spaceship, I mean, I guess that could work. But just even think, what is Grand Theft Auto? It's an open world game where you're in a big city. How do you do that in space? You can't. So you can go to the moon. Why would you? That like moon physics. That like the whole appeal is gone as soon as you do that. So I don't think it would work at all. Matthew B. movie isn't particularly good, but it's actually unintentionally funnier due to meme and internet culture. Perhaps. Jess Bonds, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for WandaVision? I don't know how to. I don't really have a score for my excitement levels. Like a 5. I mean, I'm more excited about it simply as a YouTuber than I am as a show in and of itself. Like the concept of MCU sitcoms in a guy's brain in the afterlife, that does not immediately appeal to me. Having new MCU content, however, does. Quentin Tickler, think they will just keep delaying Grand Theft Auto 6 because of how insanely popular Grand Theft Auto 5 online is. They're still releasing massive online updates. Yeah. Why don't they just go do what I want? What I want is Grand Theft Auto 6. So just do that. They should only be thinking about me. Dave Bredesen, I gave 16 of Martin Scorsese's films B plus or higher. The other 9 had a 1 C plus, 2 were B minuses, and 6 were a B. Very cool, very cool. All right, I got to take off because I got to shoot a video. So after talking for an hour, now I've got to talk for 3 more hours about DreamWorks movies so I can get this, actually 2 videos as it's turning out to be, these 2 videos done. Talk to you later. What is this hand gesture? What was that? Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for your support.